People think that the United States and Russia stand a few thousand miles apart, but in fact, we are much closer to each other than it may seem. There are the Diomede Islands in the middle of the Bering Strait. Big Diomede Island is Russian, while its twin, Little Diomede Island, belongs to the Americans. The distance between them is only about 2.4 miles. Today, you will learn why it takes a full day to cross them, what the ice curtain is, and how the locals live amidst the changing climate. But before we begin, make sure you've subscribed to the channel and hit the bell icon to stay updated with future content. And as usual, the longer you watch, the more interesting it becomes because the most surprising things always show up at the end of the video. Inuit started to inhabit the Diomede Islands more than 3,000 years ago. The credit for the discovery of these places by the old continent inhabitants goes to the illustrious Russian traveler Semyon Dezhnev. In 1648, he discovered the strait between Asia and America, later named after Bering. Moreover, Dezhnev reported on two islands located there. One of them was found by Vitus Bering's expedition in 1728. Both were mapped a little later, in 1732. They got their modern Russian names at the beginning of the 19th century, thanks to Lieutenant Otto von Kotzebue, who served as naval lieutenant of the Russian Empire. In 1867, Alexander II sold Alaska to the Americans, as there was little use for these lands at the time and their upkeep was very expensive. Besides, extra money is always welcome. Russia got a mere penny out of this deal, $7.2 million. For comparison, a single three-story building in downtown New York City, built in 1872, known as the Tweed Courthouse, cost the New York State Treasury almost twice as much as the U.S. government spent on Alaska. At the same time, Alaska is slightly smaller than the territory of Libya, which ranks 16th among the largest countries in terms of area. Once Alaska was sold, the state border was established between the Diomede Islands, but these changes didn't bother the locals much at first. The inhabitants of the Bering Strait area have always considered themselves one people. Up until 1948, families who lived on different islands had no problem visiting each other. After World War II, relations between the USSR and the United States deteriorated, causing the border to be blocked. As often happens in such cases, politics caused ordinary people to suffer greatly. The military settled on Big Diomede Island, while the civilian population had to move to Siberia. Needless to say, no one in power cared about their consent. As a result, the border was called the Ice Curtain, an analogy to the Iron Curtain, a term made popular by Churchill that marked the beginning of the Cold War. But as the years passed, the so-called Ice Curtain gradually started to melt. On August 7, 1987, an American swimmer, Lynn Cox, who had previously managed to cross the English Channel, the Strait of Magellan, and round the Cape of Hope, crossed the distance from the American island to the island belonging to the USSR. The water temperature was only 43 degrees Fahrenheit when she made her swim. The brave athlete was accompanied by the Alaska natives in kayaks. She covered this distance in 2 hours and was congratulated by the presidents of the two countries, Mikhail Gorbachev and Ronald Reagan. Lynn Cox is often referred to as a symbol of the end of the Cold War. In 1989, the country signed an agreement on reciprocal travel for residents of the Bering Strait area. The ice curtain finally fell only in 2015 when the U.S. complied with all the formalities. Therefore, Alaska natives could visit relatives in Chukotka and vice versa. In order to travel, one had to receive an invitation from relatives from the designated area. Guests were allowed to stay for no more than 90 days. It is difficult to say how things are now since there is no mention about it in the media. As mentioned before, the Diomede Islands are separated by a truly ridiculous distance of only 2.4 miles. However, if you want to feel like a time traveler, crossing them is the best way to do it. The fact is that the islands are separated by an international dateline and are in different time zones. The time difference is 21 hours. Moreover, Russia is ahead of the Americans, which is why Big Diomede is sometimes called Tomorrow Island, while Little Diomede is called Yesterday Island. This curious fact became widely known to foreign viewers in March 2021 when TikTok blogger nicknamed Lawbandrew posted a video in which he explains how to get quickly from Russia to the US by foot. Although he bent the truth a little bit, due to climate change, the ice between the islands is not as firm as it used to be. He also talked about the time difference. The video went viral and got millions of views, followed by a lot of media coverage. It was a real revelation for Americans. The uniqueness of the islands gives room for imagination. For example, you can celebrate your birthday twice a year. Or first celebrate the new year on Big Diomede, then go back in time and celebrate it again on Little Diomede. Unfortunately, it is not so easy to move between them. Today, there is no resident population on Big Diomede Island, only military personnel. The first detachment of frontier guards arrived here in 1941. A 6-room wooden house, a warehouse, and a bathhouse were brought for them by ship from Vladivostok, including food, clothing, and weapons. Life in this region is hard. Winter lasts for 9 months. You have to suffer not only very low temperatures, but also the strongest winds. Moreover, 300 days a year the island is wrapped in thick fog. For this reason, helicopters are a rare thing here. They only come once every 2 or 4 months to deliver food and mail. Only contract servicemen serve in the unit, with the basic amenities available to them, such as TV, phone, etc. There are no military personnel on Little Diomede Island. Looking at this settlement from above, one gets the impression that it is one of the most secluded places on the planet. It is home to a small Inuit community of just over 100 people. There are about 30 buildings on the island today, including apartment buildings built mostly in the 1970s and 1980s. Despite its modest appearance, the settlement features a laundry and a medical office located on the top floor of the same building. There's also a school with classrooms overlooking the Russian island. There's a library, a helipad, and a satellite dish for television, phone, fax, and internet access. Store supplies on the island are limited to a small amount of food, drinks, clothing, firearms, ammunition, and fuel. Whatever you cannot buy at the local store, you must order by mail from Anchorage, which is rarely available in the wintertime. Like in many other Alaska Native settlements, the import and sale of alcohol is prohibited. Electricity is provided by diesel generators, and water used in winter is taken from a mountain spring, then treated and stored in a huge reservoir. Due to the permafrost, laying a pipeline underground is difficult, so residents must carry water by hand. Work on the island is mostly limited to the settlement, a post office, a school, and a medical office. Despite high food prices, the Inuit, already accustomed to purchase food, do not depend as much on hunting and gathering. Still, some people collect the eggs of the guillemot, a seabird widely found in the northern hemisphere, hunt walrus, and make souvenirs, which are popular in mainland Alaska. The average annual family income on the island is about $25,000, which is not much because of high prices and the islanders' dependence on imported food. For example, a pack of common laundry detergent costs $45. All in all, life on the island is not only complicated, but also expensive. Climate change adds additional challenges to the Inuit. It is getting warmer every year, affecting the traditional way of life. Islanders, especially young people, start to think about relocation. Despite this, travelers note that the locals seem to be happier than many people in the big cities. At this point, we get to the end of our video. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon, and give this video a big thumbs up. We're curious to hear your opinion about this video in the comments.